Hello, overcomers. Welcome to another episode of Overcoming with Jennifer, my weekly Q&A. So today I'm answering another question from the Facebook group, and it pertains specifically to those of you who still have to be in contact with the narcissist for some reason. So whether this is co-parenting or whether the narcissist in your life is from your family of origin and there's some other reason why you feel like you are not able to set a no contact boundary. Some of you are still in a transition time where you're still having to share housing for some reason or communicate about bills or other things in the divorce process. Regardless of your situation, if you are still in communication with the narcissist and it is not an option to cut ties, I think specifically with co-parenting, that is the issue. So I'll probably kind of lean my answer more towards that. So if you're in a situation where you're still communicating with them, how do you prevent from being hurt by them again down the road or over and over again? So, and also the person that wrote this question said, I want to have control over what affects me and what doesn't. So essentially, how can you continue to have control over yourself and your emotions and what you're affected by and what you're not if you cannot cut all ties? So this is really tough. If you just Google, articles about narcissism, the number one advice you will see of how to move past it or how to handle the situation is to cut all ties, go no contact. That is the number one advice. And so many of us out there are sitting here screaming, but I can't go no contact. I wish I could, but I'm still tied to this person. Now, as you all know, I don't like to provide a lot of education about narcissism per se. I think you can find tons of that information for free on the internet. You can find it in books. There are plenty of people who are really good at educating about narcissism. That is not my focus here, primarily because we are focused on ourselves and our healing and our journey forward. We've spent too much time focused on the abuser, and that has kept us away from our identity. So my focus is on reconnecting with and redefining our identity. That is why my paid membership program is called the Redefined Process. That is the process we are following to redefine our identities. So that said, I don't normally educate a lot about narcissism, but I want to take a minute to just remind you of one very important thing about the narcissist in your life, okay? Their number one focus and really their number one foothold for controlling and manipulating you is that they want to control your emotions. So what we have to do is take command and control over our own emotions in order to keep from being triggered by them. And that's exactly what it is. It's a trigger. It is a trauma trigger. So when you're getting anxious, when you feel like, oh, here I go getting upset again about whatever they're doing, and I mean, they're doing legitimately frustrating and infuriating things to you, I am sure. I know, I've been there, I'm still there. So it's normal to have an emotional reaction to that. I'm not saying you should just be totally calm all the time and just serene and like everything is okay. That's just denial, right? We don't want to be like that. But my guess is you are having a trauma trigger. So you have that anxiety rising up in your body, that sense of panic. You're having physical symptoms related to these strong emotions. It's taking you right back into that traumatic relationship when you were in it. You're continuing to be triggered because you're continuing to be in contact with this person. So it's not just the feeling you have in the moment, but it's all of that past trauma, all of the memories of your past interactions with them. It's coming back, even if it's not cognitive, like you're not having a actual like flashback to the memory, your body is remembering it. You're having those emotions and those physical symptoms. So it is a trauma trigger. So what we need to do to manage that is control our emotions and get in touch with our bodies. So one thing I'm going to recommend here is meditation. Now, I'm always the first to say that for many years, I was like, oh, meditation is great. And I understand, physiologically why that helps calm you, even just deep breathing. I was like, yeah, I get it, but it's not for me. And the reason why I had such resistance to it for so long, even as a therapist myself, I would teach clients to do it, but I was not regularly doing that in my life, was because it was so hard. If we're dealing with anxiety, we're having trouble sitting still with our bodies and feeling our feelings. So it is challenging, but this is what you need. And I can tell you from personal experience, my ability to self-regulate, to regulate my nervous system, to keep from going from 0 to 100 based on, any given trigger, that has improved so much since practicing breathing and more specifically meditation. Now, I'm not an expert in meditation, but I will just recommend there are many apps out there. There's Calm, there's Headspace, there's a million others. You do normally have to pay for those. Calm might be free or have a free level. But you can also find free guided meditations on YouTube, on other places on the internet, okay? So find yourself a guided meditation, or 3 or 10 or whatever, some that you like, that's, maybe 5 to 10 minutes long. I tend to do, a 10 to 12 minute meditation daily. If I skip it, I notice, okay? If I skip it, I will notice and I'll do it later on in the day. For me, it helps to do it first thing if I can. I prioritize that. So if you have little kids at home, get up, do this before your child wakes up if you can, to make that a priority. If I only have time for one self-care thing in the morning, I will prioritize the meditation and try to do the other things later in the day, or maybe skip those that day. That's how important this is for me. So I need you to practice that. Again, you can find a free guided meditation. Practice getting in your body, as uncomfortable as that can be, sitting with your feelings. Now, this is going to be hard for the first several times, but I think after a few weeks, especially after a few months, this will become a very valued part of your routine, and you're going to notice a difference in your emotions. So, of course, I can't fully answer every possible, answer there is to this question, but I think a really great starting point is, number one, you have to control your emotions so that you're not giving them a foothold to control you and push you every which way all the time. You feel like you're still under their control. And number two, I think meditation is going to be a great way to get that started, a great foundation. So I'm going to come back and talk to you guys in a couple days specifically about how you can translate this into an art experience, to have sort of a meditative art experience. And we're going to talk about the power of a daily mantra along with that. Mantras are something I really focus on in the Redefine process. And so I'm going to give you a little glimpse of that in a couple of days.